Welcome to DrPaul Martial Science Talk. DrPaul has been studying martial arts for over 40 years. DrPaul's constant study of the human sciences and the physics of living has earned him 3 PhDs and is always looking to educate one's knowledge to understanding. Now welcome DrPaul Dyer, Grandmaster.
I'm Grandmaster Dr. Paul Dyer, and here we're doing another broadcast of martial arts science. And we do this every Thursday for the AMA Martial Arts Masters Radio Network. And what I like to do is to bring you the science of martial arts. There's a lot of people out there that's doing education pieces and there's teaching. And again, podcast is for you to keep it in your books or keep it as some of your notes so you can keep referring back to it. And today I have a special guest on. Again, like all my guests, this is a blessing to have them because the martial arts community is about brothers and sisterhood, and we've done so much work to keep that and unify that. But here it's a lesson. And welcome, Hanshi Hunter. How you doing, Hanshi?
Pretty good. Yeah, how you doing?
Good. So let's get right into the martial arts science. Now, you teach Shotokan and Kempo, which is the two things I love the most. So what is it about? Let's go with, when I do these things for students, or we're always a forever student, we're always constantly learning. What's some of the things that you've noticed that gets missed in the martial arts practice, even when you're teaching? Doesn't matter when you're teaching seminars or you're teaching whatever, you notice there's a lot of things that kind of gets taken for granted or not looked at properly. What's some of those things that you noticed?
Well, first thing I have to notice is respect and etiquette is going right out the window. And when I said there's no respect, there's no karate. And that's the most things I notice. This generation lacks a lot of respect, and because without respect, if just proper dojo etiquette goes a long way. If you don't do the Kibidachi fence and learning as a horse is, you don't have the right discipline, you don't have the patience to master that, you're gonna give up too easily. And so I noticed that a lot in this generation. We lack that.
Is that something that either the schools are not focusing on, or is it just something that the schools are still focusing on it, but yet the young students aren't taking it to heed? Like when I was going through the school, and we're probably roughly around the same age, is that, the cleaning the dojo, the walking the dojo, it was a certain way you had to carry yourself, even when you walk around your sensei, or even though you're seniors. There was a certain way you had to carry yourself.
Exactly. In my dojo, you just can't enter the dojo and walk in on the floor. You have to wait permission to the sensei acknowledge you, then you come in. And then you don't come in if you're late. You go to the back of the line. You don't get in your proper spot until we bow in. The second, and we bow out the first time, we re-lined up. Then you get in your rightful position. But there's a lot of etiquette that I'm old school, so I teach the same way I was taught, and I don't change my integrity. To please people, I stay within my boundaries. But yes, that's very, very important. Maybe some senseis today taking shortcuts to maybe win tournaments or sports or whatever they're into now. But I stick to the basics. I mean, the basics are the foundation, and you can't skip that. You can't skip it. You have to stick to the basics. Master the basics, and the rest will take care of itself.
And then when you go, and that's, if you study, again, it's that history because, Shotokan, meaning house, meaning, place of study. The name is built into what we do and how we study. Dojo meaning home, and the word meaning brotherhood and father and sister and young brother. So all those are built into that family orientation, and I don't understand why many of us that's being missed, especially when it's built into the wording in itself.
Well, a lot of, martial art has become Americanized. And there's nothing wrong with that. Remember, because, as Americans, we take everything and make it our own. So, the martial art thing belongs to America, Karate don't just belong to Japanese no more. Taekwondo don't belong to Korean. We as Americans have embraced the martial art, especially as they've been doing it 40, 50, 60 years now. It has been ingrained and it became American martial arts. So we modified it to fit our culture. And unfortunately, sometimes we take shortcuts because we are instant gratification society. We want it now. A lot of guys don't want to put in the time. They want it now. They don't want to spend 20 years mastering Taekwondo Shodan or Tiki Shodan. They want it now. And so they take shortcuts. And sometimes shortcuts are not. So let's say you took your art, and let's say you've been trained 40, 50 years. Well, I'm not going to train my students the way my sensei taught me. I'm going to take some shortcuts. Instead of learning 20 katas, I'm going to teach 5 katas. You see, it became American martial art. It sort of modified the system to make it quicker, just for their personal use. And that's not taking it. There's nothing wrong with that if it works. I mean, time will tell when it works. If your techniques work for you and your colors work for you, then more power to you. But that's the reason. I feel. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But that's my take on it. That's what I have observed in traveling across the country and traveling to different tournaments and stuff I can see out there. That's just what I observe, And like I said, I don't knock it. Everybody doing their own thing, but if it works for you, it works for you.
Now let's get into the science of martial arts. When I talk about the science, it's usually in short form. It's about the bunkai. It's about what is it the actual there is doing. There's so many motions and the science behind the actions of the rooting and the breathing and the waving of the hands. They all have a meaning on that. So let's get into some of the science that you like to focus on, that you want to just talk about today, that was going to help these students put into their notebooks so they can carry on for the rest of their times.
I believe in using pretty much similar to Ed Parker concept, or even Kali concept. All moves are universal. What goes up must come down. What moves forward must go back. And so when you understand the basic principles, all bunkai, even in Shotokan and Kung Fu bunkai can be applied. And once you understand the root of a tree, you know what's going to grow from that tree. You plant an orange seed, you're going to grow what? Oranges, right? So once you understand the root of that art, you understand the principles of the art. So each kata has a bunkai, and most Okinawa masters used to leave it up to each sensei to come up with their own bunkai. And, in Japan, JKA, before you got promoted to Sanden, which, you got to be a Sanden to be a sensei in Japanese karate, So you had to write your theses, and you had to demonstrate a bunkai, your interpretation of these katas, And so that's why you can see 4 Japanese masters doing the same kata but do different bunkai. From the same kata, because they have their own interpretation of the kata. And there's nothing wrong with it. As long as you can make it work for you, you understand the basic principles. Because all movements are universal. They can be applied at different angles, different a kata, a basic down block, for instance, and walking punch can have a takedown. It can be a block. It can be a punch. It can be a strike. It depends on your imagination, pretty much.
One thing you said about the Ed Parker, because Kimball's my love, and it's just that, like, when you do a drop, and when you're dropping your hands down on something, your weight comes with it. So when your weight shifts back from that dropping of the hand, there is a settlement of exchange of weight transformation, right? I see a lot of people just try to use their hands and not settling in their bodies. Again, that is up and down and that movement. So when you drop that hand, your weight shifts in a direction where you want that body to be moved to.
Correct. Like the truck and the bumper. You get hit with the bumper, you get hit with the truck, right? So, yes, that's an interesting and very factual concept. And a lot of people don't know how to sequelize their movement. You're just not hitting with your hands, you're hitting with your whole body. You know, and Japanese build they source from the power from the ground on up, powerful stance, and work their way up. You know, and you got some internal arts that use circular motion to build a power from wiggling from the waist and up, generated to the end of the, like a whip. You know, like a whip effect with the hands. So you got a lot of internal arts. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Well, in Japanese term, we call it Tai Shibaki, but yeah. And then,
yeah, correct. Tai Shibaki, body shifting, put yourself in a position of a power, position of control. You know, something you redirect the force, move away from the angle of the force, and put yourself in a position where you can counterattack. Very, very, very effective strategy for fighting, especially with kumite, real like self-defense. I pretty much focus on a lot of self-defense techniques due to the fact that I never got into martial arts to be a sensei, a master, or Hanshi, whatever the title. I got in martial arts strictly self-defense because I lived in a very bad place, a very dark place, and
so
people
did
get
you
killed.
grow up so you're originally from Houston. Did you grow up in the wards at all?
I grew up in Fifth Ward. Yes, sir, I did. I see people get their heads chopped off. I see people shot, point blank, head blown clean off. I see things that some children should never have to see. And I fight to survive.
And me growing up in New York and the Bronx kid, it was in the time of the 70s, it was the same situation with the different street gangs that were doing your thing. But where you were down, you actually had I think that you had a lot of Bloods and the Crips that's very big down there. Is that correct?
No, they are now. They weren't then. No, we had a lot of Crip pushers. Yeah, the drugs came in the 80s. The drugs, the crack cocaine came into the scene. So we had a lot of people, you know. But I grew up in Bloody Fields in Frenchtown. There was a lot of crime, a lot of hustling, and a lot of bad kids, and robbing, stealing, doing everything under the sun. So you had to fight.
When you do your self-defense, when you're thinking of self-defense, when you're teaching people, and this is the one thing, I just had a person on one of my shows, and I've been in Israel. I traveled to Israel, and it's a mindset. So when you're doing your instruction or your self-defense, how do you instruct that science and for them to change that mindset so they can turn on the process of the action you're trying to teach them? Because that's different. That's actually difficult for people.
Well, no. What happens is we have what you call it. We work on particular movements. You know, it's shahari in Japanese. You know, you make a transition. First, you have to learn. They have to learn the proper stance, proper depth, proper application. Once it becomes second nature, then we increase the tempo of it. So you might start off slow. It's like learning to drive. You're not going to get in the car and start off 70, 80 miles an hour. You got to start off slow, get control of the vehicle, and as you feel comfortable, you increase the speed. Same thing with the technique. You learn slow. You know how to make sure you block contact. And then as the student become more comfortable with the technique, then we get more aggressive. We punch harder. We attack with more intensity. What we call it intent. When the Filipinos use intent, when you're doing block and strike with the stick. If you go too soft, you never feel that hit. But you got to be in that block, stop that block, stop that opponent. If you don't, it's going to hit you. So same thing we do equal from kumite. If the students punch at you slow, we doing the block slow, make sure your blocks is correct, your stance correct. Then we increase the speed. Then we use no count. That means the student can attack you at any time you want to. You have to stop that opponent. So we have different levels, but we spend a lot of time on the base, make sure students understand the mechanics of what they're learning, and then we increase the tempo, and that makes a big difference. A lot of my students have actually used a martial art in the situation with a gun attack. Now, in fact, one of my students named Mr. Rick, he's a Spanish gentleman. He had just made orange belt some years back, and he and his wife just left to celebrate. He witnessed a car hit two of the girls. It was hit and run. They chased the man down. The man went into a ditch. The man jumped out the car. He pulled out a double-edged knife. Mr. Rick had to use, he just learned the technique. You know, he used self-defense, a white belt mixed with a yellow belt technique and combined, and he took the guy down and put him in a circle technique and helped out the police got there. Ain't that sad? That's beautiful. He was a hero. Yeah, so that was great.
The thing I try to wake up people is to say your life is worth living and protecting others. And if we can get our civilians, other people involved into learning the art of living, then no one will be by themselves. And that's just kind of like my calling.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. And, you know, to me, when you have doubt whether you're, and doubt comes from not being sure. So that means if you practice your technique and somebody's throwing a punch at you, for instance, and you can, let's say you're trying to use a forward block, and you have not developed that forward block to a science where you can actually stop somebody. You ain't made no contact, you never made no full power contact. You're not sure you can stop that person. So therefore, you're going to be what? Afraid, because you have not developed your block where you're comfortable. We have what you call it a rotating. When we train, we rotate our line down. That means that person gets a chance to train with everybody in the dojo, different sizes, different speed, different power. So you get a chance to work on your block with every student. You don't just get the same person every week. We rotate the line down so you get a chance to press your blocks on everybody. You got some guys that are faster. You got some guys that are slower. Some guys are big. Some guys are small. So you have to do what? You have to learn to adjust your techniques to every situation. And once you can stop every opponent, you develop a confidence. You believe you know what you can do versus have to guess. Therefore, that eliminates the fear factor. You have no fear. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. And again, you know, you people that are going to be listening to this podcast, again, I want you to take this and use this as notes. When Hanshi Hunter's talking about, what we're trying to talk about here in martial science is to get you to understand there's some basic knowledge and basic training that you have to perfect and to do before you're able to perform and act. So don't take it for granted that the things you're learning that you just magically going to do, because that's just not true unless you are taking away those principles and putting it into your action.
Right. And you have to be able to follow principles, you know, at will. You know, it's like getting a toolbox, you know. In your toolbox, you can have all kinds of stuff. You can have a hammer, you can have pliers, a screwdriver. Each one is designed to do a different type of job. But you ain't be able to pull out and use what you need for the time. And that's where your skill sets come in. You know, nothing's written in stone. You know, cause I make my little videos on my Facebook page. I'm only showing the public what I want them to see. I'm not showing them my actual art. They may see a collar, they might see a little this, a little that. But I'm not showing all, you know, not even a third of what I teach. You know, so I just, you know, I'm just, you know, the masters can look at it and see what's there. You know, those that's in the art, right? But I'm only showing what I want the public to see at the time. You know,
right. Well, we're going to leave the students here with what's the one thing you're going to stress to a student, or like I said, we're forever students. So what is something you want to stress to the students that are listening that you want to know? Stress,
stick to the basics. The basics are your foundation. Just like you start school, once you learn to make words, you learn the alphabet, you learn to make words, and from words, you learn what? You learn to define the word, what the words mean, you learn to put them in sentences, and so forth. And then you increase your vocabulary from there on. So the stronger your basics, the stronger your martial arts. Don't take shorts, take your time and refine the basics. Just a basic punch takes a long time just to master. People don't realize that, you know, everybody can punch, true, but not everybody can punch. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I did we did a class with Grandmaster Vic Moore, and most people who don't know who Vic Moore is, he actually fought Bruce Lee. But in one of our classes with Vic Moore, he did an hour and a half on the straight punch. And that's just because he was just, we were talking about the fine-tuning of the punch. An hour and a half on the straight punch. It was accurate, but he's an amazing man. I'd like to thank you so much, Hanshi, for visiting with me on Martial Arts Science. And like I said, you're always welcome back anytime here on the Martial Arts Masters AMA Radio Network. And thank you again so much, and God bless.
You have been listening to Dr. Paul. If you have any questions or comments, please contact him at drpaul@gmail.com or 701-388-1899. Now back to Dr. Paul and martial science.
Yeah, so welcome back to Dr. Paul and Dr. Paul, and here on the AMA Radio Masters Network. You know, talking with Hanshi Hunter, you know, we don't want you to forget about those basics. You know, as we go along, we teach our classes. It's funny because I was teaching a class even last night. And also, be careful. We're going to be having seminars here on a different martial arts master series. So we're going to be having seminars on the science of different techniques. So you'll be either having to come to me or be on a video where you can download the video. So watch out for some of those videos to download on the Martial Arts Science work page. So what we're trying to do here is we advance you, you step back. We advance you, you step back. And in those things takes a lot of dedication. And I think that's what Hanshi was really referring to when people forget about the basics, because it's the dedication of the basics that allows you to move forward in your technique. There are many techniques that happen, and yet every time we advance you, it connects to your beginning technique. So if your beginning technique isn't strong, even the science in the bunkai and in the application of it, you're going to miss because it refers back to the action state of the beginning, which is kind of like a child, you know, the action state of the beginning. When you are beginning to walk, no one really teaches you how to walk. But once you learn how to walk properly, the beginning stage you got to go back to. So, and that's what it is about the martial sciences. The martial science is an evolution, an evolving thing, but yet in its spherical action, it will circle back to the beginning again. You know, the work that we do, most people don't have the dedication to do or study the martial sciences. You have some haters out there. You have some wannabes. You have some people who just troll the internet and look for things to complain about. And that's not who we're talking to here on the Martial Arts Masters Radio Network. We're talking to people who are dedicated in their heart and love. And the true love comes from true giving of oneself to others, you know, and that is the martial science artist's way, is to serve humanity, to serve the lifelong living sciences of love and living, and protect those who are unable to protect themselves and teach those to learn how to protect themselves. So in those martial arts ways, we become that being of light. And there's many ways to be a martial artist. You don't always have to be that physical one. You can also be that emotional one, that spiritual one, you know, that blessed one. So there's many ways to practice the living sciences that martial sciences gives you, the living sciences. It's the breath, it's the balance, it's movement, and then there's action. So here on the Martial Science Talk, when we were talking with Hanshi Hunter, and he was talking about just even the different applications that even his orange belt did, it was a simple move, but again, he was out there protecting lives. That's a beautiful thing. And if we can all learn how to protect the living, to honor the living, to honor the people who have passed before us, who laid the pathways for all types of things. And our knowledge doesn't come from one source. It comes from many sources, right? So, and if you are clogged in your heart, you're going to be clogged in the way you move. And in the way you move, it's your actions. It's your speech. It's the way you talk to even your friends and families and strangers. You know, your speech gives you what your environment is within inside your heart. And so your practice, your dedicated practice also allows you to have that clearance in your heart where it can grow and you can, nurture your garden. You can feed the seeds. And that's part of that practice. That's part of that, like Hanshi Johnny was talking about. That's part of that, basics. The basic is about building a life of a human being. We all have different environments and different situations and different educations that we come through and different even circumstances. But to build that life, you have to nurture it and you have to want to live in a prosperous way. And prosperous don't always have to deal with when you're thinking of materialism. Okay. Has to think of that whole internal body. Again, the basic practices of martial arts and the martial science is building that cultivation of a life. And that life starts with you, starts within you. And then as you step on the dojo mat. And that's what we were talking about. I just don't understand how some of the young people are not getting, the practice. Now, if you want to call yourself a gym, that's, you've taken out some of the context of what it really means to be a martial artist, because, it's a gym. Gym is, a place to sweat in, maybe not a place to, have camaraderie, even though many gyms have amazing camaraderie. There's a gym that I know out in North Dakota, Metroflex. It's a very amazing gym. The owners and the families are amazing. They developed that sense. And there are other gyms out there in the world too that I'm sure that do that. But, the dojo, the dojang, those things mean so much in the word of the practice. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer, Grandmaster Dyer, and I am here every Thursday for the Martial Arts Science Talk at the AMA Martial Arts Masters Radio Network. And you can always contact me, again, at drpaulwdyer@gmail.com, or you can get on my webpage and contact me there. It is drpaulholisticscience.com. Remember, I have a live broadcast on Monday on the BBM Global Network, and you can also catch the podcast on iHeart and iTunes Radio. The BBM Global Network, channel 200. I have a live show every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a call-in talk show, and it's called Bridges, and it's to get you from here to there. We're all trying to get from here to there. That's why we do this as a student, as a forever student, and as a sensei, which is an honor. It's a blessing to be able to be a teaching aspect to give. So, blessings to all. Namaste and much love. And you've been listening to Martial Arts Science Radio Network.
You have been listening to Dr. Paul. If you have any questions or comments, please contact him at drpaultire@gmail.com or 701-388-1899. Now back to Dr. Paul and...
Thank you and namaste.